something happened at my ex-husband's house over the evening, and my 2 children came to my house this morning.
It all began with something so pure, so gentle, that no one could have guessed the storm waiting in the shadows.
Never really fully healed from any of what happened.
She was young, full of dreams, and her heart opened quickly to the boy who made her feel seen.
It's like waking up every morning and having the same phone call.
911, what is the address of your emergency?
Their eyes met in crowded rooms, their laughter blended on long walks, and the world seemed brighter whenever they were together.
Never spoken publicly before about any of this.
Friends spoke of them as if they were perfect, the kind of couple you only see in stories.
911 call came in October 2nd, 2017.
For her, it was the magic of first love. The late night talks, the nervous smiles, the secret promises whispered like treasures. He knew what to say, when to hold her hand, and how to make her believe she was safe in his arms. But behind the warmth, there were things unsaid, little signs most would dismiss, a quick flash of jealousy, a sharp word covered by a soft smile. At first, love blinded her to the shadows, because who would ever believe that love, the first love, could twist into something darker? In those early days, it was only love she saw. The kind of love that feels eternal, the kind of love you never forget, the kind of love that makes everything else fade away. Sweet moments in the beginning, every day felt like a gift. They would share coffee on rainy mornings, walk side by side with no need for words, and laugh over the smallest jokes until their stomachs hurt. She would write his name in the corner of her notebooks, and he would promise her forever with a smile that seemed unshakable. Friends noticed how he looked at her, as if she was the only person in the world. For her, it was more than love, it was safety, joy, and belonging. They spoke about dreams, about traveling the world together, about a life that seemed so close, almost within reach. She held on to those moments, believing they were the foundation of something that would last forever. Every kiss felt like a promise, every hug a shield from the outside world. It was innocent, tender, and unforgettable, the sweet moments that define young love. But beneath the laughter and stolen kisses, time was slowly building cracks. She didn't see them, not yet. To her, those days were everything, memories painted in gold. Sweet moments that felt unbreakable, moments that blinded her to what was already coming. Cracks appeared slowly. The shine of first love began to fade. What once felt light and effortless started to feel heavy, like walking through shadows. She noticed how his voice sometimes changed, sharp, cutting, almost cold, before softening again with an apology. At first, she brushed it off. After all, every couple argued. Every love had its rough edges. But small arguments turned into nights of silence, and little doubts crept into her heart. He grew possessive, always asking where she was, who she was with, and why she didn't answer fast enough. The laughter they once shared became rare, replaced by tension that lingered even in quiet rooms. Friends noticed too, but when they asked, she defended him. She told herself it was stress, that things would go back to how they were. Yet deep inside, she felt the change. Love no longer felt safe, it felt fragile, like glass ready to break. What scared her most was the way he could switch between sweet and cruel in a heartbeat, as if two different people lived inside him. The cracks were showing, and though she wanted to ignore them, they were growing too wide to hide. Dark secrets. The more time passed, the more she began to see the side of him that was never meant to be shown. Behind the gentle words and the promises of forever, there were secrets he kept locked away. He grew distant at times, disappearing without reason, only to return with excuses that never quite made sense. She would find messages on his phone, lies hidden between sweet texts, but he always convinced her it was nothing. His jealousy grew sharper, his anger harder to calm, and his grip on her life began to tighten. Friends warned her, whispering that something wasn't right, but love made her blind to the truth. She believed the boy she fell for was still there, somewhere beneath the darkness creeping through him. Yet every day, the secrets grew heavier. His past, filled with shadows she had never known, began bleeding into their present. He carried grudges, violent thoughts, and dangerous impulses that slipped through cracks in his mask. What terrified her most was not what she knew, but what she didn't. The man she thought she loved was a stranger, hiding pieces of himself too dark to ever fit into the world they once dreamed of building. Turning point. There always comes a moment when everything changes, when love can no longer hide what it has become. For her, that moment arrived quietly, yet it felt like a storm breaking open. His words turned sharper, his hands less gentle, and the warmth she once trusted now carried danger. One night, an argument went too far. His voice raised, his eyes burning with something she had never seen before. Fear replaced love in her chest. She realized she was no longer safe with the boy who once made her feel like the world was full of light. That was the turning point. The sweet memories could no longer cover the truth. She tried to leave, tried to pull away, but leaving him was not simple. He begged, then threatened, then promised again, cycling through every emotion as if to trap her inside his storm. She saw the mask fall, and what stood behind it was not love, it was control. From that day forward, she knew nothing would ever be the same. The line had been crossed, and the story of first love had begun its fall into something darker, something no one ever imagines when it all begins. The murder the night it happened was not planned in her mind, but in his. The shadows had been growing for far too long. What began as another fight quickly spiraled out of control. His anger was louder than reason, his words sharper than any blade, and when she tried to walk away, something inside him snapped. Love was no longer present, only rage, fear, and obsession. The boy who once held her hand now became the monster who ended it all. In a single moment, the story of first love was shattered forever. The latter, the sweet moments, the promises of forever, all erased by violence no heart should ever know. The world around them grew silent, as if even time itself paused to watch the cruelty unfold. And when it was done, there was no going back. The girl who once dreamed of a bright future was gone, her light stolen in the darkest way. He stood there in the silence, surrounded by the wreckage of what he had done, no longer a lover, no longer a boy in love, only a murderer. The murder was not just the end of her life, but the death of everything their love had once been. Aftermath. The silence after the crime was heavier than the act itself. At first, he tried to cover it up, wiping away traces as if the truth could be erased. But blood leaves stains no cloth can hide, and guilt is louder than any lie. Friends who once admired their love now asked questions, their voices filled with worry when she stopped answering calls, stopped showing up, stopped smiling in the way only she could. Rumors spread, and the story of young love turned into whispers of tragedy. His face, once seen as charming, now looked hollow and haunted. Each step he took was shadowed by the weight of what he had done. Her family mourned without answers, holding on to fading hope before the truth finally reached them. What had started as a dream had ended in a nightmare no one could have imagined. The aftermath was not just the loss of one life, it was the destruction of many hearts. Love, trust, and innocence had all been buried with her. And though he tried to run from it, there is no escape from the echoes of such a crime. The world would never see him the same again. Post-mortem, when the body was found, the truth could no longer be hidden. The post-mortem told the story her voice could not. Cold reports replaced warm memories, listing wounds that revealed a night of violence and fear. Each mark was evidence of betrayal, each detail a reminder that love had turned into horror. Doctors spoke in calm, clinical tones, but the weight of their words crushed everyone who listened. The girl, once full of dreams, was now reduced to evidence, her life measured in injuries, her end written in a report. Her family wept, holding photographs instead of her hand, while investigators pieced together the final hours of her life. The postmortem did not just explain how she died, it exposed the truth of who he really was. Every secret, every lie, every hidden rage was finally laid bare. Love could no longer protect him from justice, because science had spoken. And though it brought answers, it also brought unbearable pain. For no medical report could capture the warmth of her laughter, or the light she carried. The postmortem was the end of her story, but the beginning of justice. Final truth in the end. The story of first love was remembered not for its beginning, but for its end. The trial revealed everything. The lies, the jealousy, the violence he had tried so hard to hide. Witnesses spoke of her fear, of the cracks she tried to cover, of the times she wanted to leave but was pulled back into his storm. The evidence, the post-mortem, and his own guilt painted the final truth in sharp detail. He had taken her life, destroying the very love he claimed to protect. There were no more excuses, no more masks to wear. The boy who once promised forever was now a murderer facing judgment. For her family, justice could never replace what was lost, but it was the only light left in the darkness. The final truth was clear. Love is never meant to hurt, never meant to end in blood. Her story became a warning, a reminder that behind the sweetest smiles can hide the darkest hearts. The first love she once cherished would forever be remembered, not as a dream, but as a tragedy carved into memory. The final truth was not love, but loss.